Hey guys, welcome to episode 4 of Are We Strong Yet? I'm Zach. You might notice I'm not down in the weenie hut today. It's been a crazy day. We had a power outage. Crazy storm rolled in, and we've been out without power for pretty much most of the day. So I'm trying to take advantage of while the sun's still up. We have some natural lighting. So doing this from my office room today. So I'm just at my desk, and you can see my little paint zone here where I paint Warhammer minis and stuff. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that's also something I like to do. So yeah, a little change of scenery today, but it be what it be. We're making it happen. Just want to say thanks to everybody who so far following along. It means a lot. Yeah, that's really, I don't really know what else to say about that, to be honest. It means a lot. I really appreciate the words of encouragement, and it's really motivating to hear positive stuff. So thanks for coming back. And a little bullet point note I'm going to mention. I noticed last week I talk a lot about the days of the week during these videos, but I never mention what day it is when I'm actually recording. So I feel like that's kind of confusing, or it can be a little confusing. So I'd like to just preface like today. It's Friday. I'll try to get this out and be posted by like Sunday or Monday. We'll see how it goes. Got a full weekend lined up, but it is Friday the 3rd as of recording. So just to give some frame of reference, so when I talk about how the week went and stuff, you kind of know at least what I'm talking about, right? So we're gonna get right to it here. First up, a diet check-in. Diet felt good. Diet felt really good this week. We're down a couple pounds. I had another record low weigh-in this week of 233.6, I believe it was. So for me, that's crazy, right? That's almost down to like pre-injury weight. I was walking around probably like 220, 225, maybe hovering to 230 a couple years ago when I hurt my knee. So almost down to pre-injury rate. So that's pretty great. I'm pretty happy with that. And a really fun thing about carbon is that if you track, and if you lose too much weight or whatever, like again, the app adjusts your macros week to week. So I ended up actually being a little over this last week because I had like 4th of July summertime stuff with my family last Saturday, and then I had a wedding on Sunday. So I tracked as best as I could to try to stay kind of dialed in, right? But ended up, so my current macros, or my macros before, were like 21, we'll call it 2,200 calories a day. But what I tracked and kind of what I ended up eating averaged out to like 2,300 calories a day. But then I still lost like 2 pounds. So carbon's like, hey, your body's responding well, so your new targets are 2,300 calories a day. Have at it. So that's always cool. So moving into this next week, got 100 calories more per day than what I'm used to for food targets. So we're gonna keep on trucking and hopefully just keep making our way down. Like I said, the ultimate goal is to cut enough to where we're lean enough to be able to justify actually doing like a bulk, and just kind of see like how far can we take the physique, right? Like what kind of shape can I really get in? Can I get back to like 240 pounds, but significantly leaner than I was previously when I was 240? One thing at a time. But so far the cut's been going really great. Training update. We just wrapped up week 2 of the current split. Week 2 of this leader template. Going really well, guys. Going really well. Finished all the workouts in under the time limit. Got my cardio in this week. Felt really good. Even I upped the accessories a little more. So on my lower body days, so when squatting or deadlifting are the main movers, there tends to be like my main accessory work those days are pull-ups, dips, and push-ups. But lately, like I was like, man, the push-ups honestly just feel too easy. So I would do 2 sets of 20 on dips and then 2 sets of 25 on push-ups. Granted, remember when I talked about this, like you do a set, so let's say it's it's one of squats. So I'll like do a set of squats, do 20 dips, do a set of squats, do 10 pull-ups, do a set of squats, do 20 dips, right? But after the second set of dips, you switch to push-ups. That's how the program is written. But I'm like, man, you know what? The dips feel great and the pull-ups feel too easy. So I've just been doing 4 sets of dips felt awesome. I think next week I'm gonna just add some weight. I'm gonna do weighted dips instead of just body weight because the 4 sets of 20 just they feel great. I feel really strong, feel really good. So we're just gonna keep, we can push the accessories at the same time we're pushing these main movers. So honestly, yeah, things are just kind of cooking. The training feels really great. I feel like everything's really gelling. So it's really exciting. Um, Also, I know I mentioned episode one, I was getting a mountain bike. I finally got that mountain bike and have had a chance to go on a couple bike rides. And man, really fun way to get your cardio in. Just, if the weather's nice, you get outside, you get pedaling, and the quad pump was actually insane. So really excited to keep hitting that as for one of my main cardio conditioning workouts. So kind of planning on waking up early tomorrow and going for a bike ride just to get that sweat in before I got more Fourth of July stuff with more family this weekend. So keeping it going. But all in all, like the body's responding really well to the diet, and the training's feeling really great. We're really grooving. We're really gelling. So really happy where we're at. Really happy to keep going. So I thought the main thing I would focus on this week, outside of like the training update and whatnot, was just kind of some general like tips, tricks, things that I've used to help stay on track with my diet. Because I feel like, at least for me, and I know for a lot of people, the training's not the hard part. Like getting in the gym and getting after it's not the hard part. It's staying consistent on a meal plan or consistent on a diet, whether it can be gaining or cutting. Like, right, like everyone struggles with different things. I know some people, again, who they can cut or maintain all day, every day, no problem. But you ask them to go into a gain phase or a bulk, and they can't do it. Right? They can't do it. It's too much food. Or vice someone like myself who no problem bulking, love eating, but really it's really difficult to stick to a cutting meal plan or a cut. So it takes just a lot more whatever. So whether or not excuse me, whether or not you're cutting or bulking, I think a lot of these tips can still be applicable. And I just want to highlight again, this is stuff that's worked for me personally. I don't think it's the end all be all. So when it comes to specifically like control training too, but when it comes to dieting and training, I think there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, right? Like there's a lot of different things you can do to be successful, but these are all just things that have worked for me really well. And I know I'm not alone. Like a lot of this stuff is stuff that you've probably heard before if you're someone who watches this kind of stuff regularly. If you're someone who's just watching because like me and you're trying to help get my videos some more views, you probably heard me talk about this shit before in person. But if for some reason, if you're someone newer just getting started, or whatever your situation is, these are things. I think these are things that could probably help you. And I also do want to highlight one thing. I'm a big fan of tracking macros. Like for me, tracking calories and macros is what has worked for me the best. Like hands down. I've tried a couple different ways of like eating. Like I did a mini carnivore. I tried the carnivore diet for like a month because me and a buddy of mine at work were like, screw it, dude. Like let's just try carnivore. Hated it. Long story short, did not like it. My stomach didn't like it. And anybody who says you can't overeat while on a carnivore diet, because that's like the big selling point, at least I always heard for people. And they're like, yeah, dude, like if you just eat meat, like you can't overeat. It's so filling. It's so satiating. You can't overeat. Well, they're full of shit. Okay. Straight up. Like one day when I was doing carnivore, I was like, you know what? I'm just curious. I'm going to track everything I'm eating just to see how many calories. Like, dude, I was eating like 5,000 calories a day of like, yeah, steak, eggs, chorizo, like high fatty meats that are all delicious, but I was in an insane caloric surplus. So for me, didn't work, not a selling point. Okay. Now again, some people out there are on carnivore or keto and they love it, right? It's just really, it's whatever works best for you. I'm a huge fan of the whole macro thing. Like if it fits your macros, what I like about it, one, it's easy to plan ahead. Two, no food is truly off the menu. I can theoretically eat whatever I want. You just have to make it fit in your macros. But like there is no like, oh, I can't, I'm sorry, man, I'm keto, so I can't eat that bread, or like I'm this and I can't eat that. Like there is no food that is off the menu, so I can eat all kinds of different shit, and that's awesome, right? So again, just little, I like, you should like talk about your biases or whatever. Like that's my bias. I think the whole macro tracking and stuff personally is what's worked best for me, and it's how I foresee myself, like the meal dieting plan, whatever you want to call it, that I plan on following for quite some time. Okay, so first things first, big tip is actually track. If you're not tracking, because everyone's like, oh man, like I'm not eating a lot of food and I can't seem to lose weight, but I'm only eating 1,500 calories a day. How do you know you're only eating 1,500 calories a day? Are you tracking? Because if you're not tracking, you don't actually know. You're guessing, right? And I think most people fall victim to, they wildly underestimate how much they're eating. Like, I'm only eating 1,500 calories. Like, nah, brother, you're eating like well north of 2,500 calories when you actually track it, right? Excuse me, I ate a lot of kimchi for dinner, so I'm burping a little bit. But you should actually track, okay? If you're not actually tracking, you don't really know where you're at, and it's just a guessing game. And I don't know, you're just not doing yourself a lot of favors. You're not setting yourself up for success if you don't actually know where you're at. The big con to this is that it's kind of tedious, especially when you're first getting into the groove. Like once you get into a rhythm, it's really not so bad. Or again, once you get like certain meals that like fill you up, taste good, and what the macros on them are, it's a lot easier just to kind of eat that same shit on repeat. But when you're first starting out, it can be really intimidating and really tedious. As well, another con is when it makes eating out difficult, or not even eating out at like a restaurant, but if you just like go to somebody's house and you have like dinner with them, or like, you go to like hang out somewhere and they have food. Like if you don't prepare the food yourself, it's hard to really know what the macros of that food is. Like, yeah, you can like punch it into Chat GPT or like a lot of apps and like Macro Factor, or there's a ton of apps out there that like you take a picture of your plate and it spits out the macros. But like that shit's super inaccurate, to be honest. Like there's no way it actually knows like whether, because like it comes down to like how much is like, you can't tell the serving size just by looking at it. Like you can guess, it can give you a rough guess, but like that's not really a good way to reliably know. So it can be a little tedious, and if you don't prepare the food yourself, it's a little harder to stay on track. So again, it's not the end all be all, but moving on to my next point is tip for success: plan ahead. If you plan ahead, it's a lot easier to stay on track. Okay, so like great example, I went last night. I went over to some buddies' houses to play Magic the Gathering. Yeah, I'm a huge nerd. If you didn't notice by like the model painting setup, the Kratos Blade of Chaos on the shelf, and all the books behind me, and the fact that I'm sitting in like a gaming chair, like huge nerd. Okay, we're just gonna come out and say that right away if you didn't know. So hanging out with some boys, we're playing some Magic. I purposely brought one of my chicken and rice meal prep containers with me to the hangout because I knew the boys were gonna want to hit a taco truck, but I wanted to stay dialed in, right? So made it real easy to stay dialed in. I had my meal right there, no harm, no foul, tossed it in my buddy's microwave. He even hooked it up with some banging hot sauce that I put on there, and it was boom, we stayed on track. Like if you just plan ahead, it makes it really easy to stay consistent. Like there's a reason why like every fitness influencer talks about meal prepping, because it works. Like it unequivocally works. If you plan ahead, you like map out your meals, and even like you map out your meals, your snacks, whatever. It's super easy. Like it's actually, I would argue it's way easier to plan ahead. Like my meal prep this week took me maybe an hour. I just grilled up a bunch of chicken breasts on my Blackstone and then put a couple cups of rice in my Instant Pot. Like that as a whole, like my lunches and some dinners for the whole week done in like under an hour. Like that made it way easier to stay dialed in than it would be if I didn't plan ahead at all and I was just kind of like shooting from the hip all day, every day. Like either I would be eating really bad food and not staying consistent, or like the meals I would be eating probably would be kind of shitty because you're just trying to whip them up real fast, right? So if you meal prep and you plan ahead, it makes it super easy to stay dialed in, right? It just takes a little bit of effort on the front end of the week, and it can really set you up for success. So like, don't. There's a reason why everybody talks about meal prepping, because it absolutely works. One other thing is there's tons of like meal prep companies out there, really expensive. Okay, like yeah, it's super convenient. Admittedly, like when I used to work 12-hour night shifts, so like back then I actually used like MegaFit Meals was the company I used for a while, and like yeah, the food was good. Made it really easy to hit my macros, but it was very expensive. Like you're really paying for that premium convenience. So like you're way better off. Again, like my meal prep this week, I just again you buy a big ass bag of rice from Costco, you buy a bag of chicken breast from Costco, you're done, right? Like so I'm not saying don't use a meal prep company. Like I mean if you want to spend the money, go for it, man. Especially like if you're not much of a cook, but you're really paying a premium just for convenience. So my next point, you got to be honest. If you're not honest, like whatever app you're using or whatever meal plan you're using, whether it could be Carbon, Macro Factors, big one, MyFitnessPal, right? Like if you're not honest with the app, like if you're not honest about what you're actually eating, like no meal plan, no meal plan is actually going to work if you're not honest about what you're doing, right? Great example. I was honest. I was over this week, but I was still honest. And I low key got rewarded for it. Where it's like, you know what, dude, you still lost weight. We're gonna bump you up. So like, but again, no meal plan works if you're not honest. So going back to if you're not tracking, you don't know where you're at. Well, if you're tracking really bad or you're not honest with your tracking, you still don't know where you're at. And you're really not doing yourself any favors. Okay, so be honest. My next pro tip, I call it eating like a dog. Okay, or like anybody here who watches John Heck, he's another big name in the space. I think he puts out some great information. You should check out his channel. He always makes comparison like a dog and his kibble, right? Like I mentioned earlier, tracking's way easier if you get a couple meals that you know you like. They're easy to make, and you know the macros in them, and you just eat that on repeat, right? I kind of eat the same stuff over and over again, and I have like a couple different meals or a couple different things I swap out, or like guess what? It's chicken again, but maybe we'll put a different rub on the chicken when we grill it, or a different sauce or different seasoning. But like, don't be afraid to have the same foods kind of on repeat, right? Again, that way you know exactly where you're at. You take the guesswork out of it. You just bam, you hit your targets. You're good to go. Sure, you can get bored or things can start to get a little stale. Then maybe switch it up. But also like, I don't think you have to go as hardcore as like Rich Piana or CT Fletcher when they're all like, we're not eating for pleasure. We're eating for size, or we're eating because we need it, right? Like, it tastes like shit and I love it. Like, hey man, like you don't have to live that way if you don't want to. Granted, life's probably going to be a little easier if you do have that mentality towards your food though, right? Like, I don't know, man. Just don't be afraid. Eat the same shit on repeat. And if you're someone who absolutely can't eat the same thing on repeat, like, you're just going to have to plan a little harder, or like you're just going to be cooking more, right? You don't have to eat the same thing on repeat. Again, you don't technically have to do really any of this stuff. This is just stuff that I've used that I felt works. The only two things that absolutely have to, or really one thing that absolutely has to happen is if you're trying to lose weight, you have to be in a caloric deficit. That's just how it works. And if you're trying to gain weight, you have to be in a surplus. However you get there, doesn't really matter. That's really the only hard set lines. Everything else is just kind of like personal preference, or like however you want to go about it. Yeah, a little side tangent there, my bad. My last little point here is learn how to cook, man. That way you make food you actually want to eat. Going back to, sure, you can have the mentality of like, this sucks and I love it, but I just don't think that's super realistic for most people, or like that's not a great way to like, is that a meal plan you're really going to be able to stick to for the long term if you hate it, right? Probably not, right? Because willpower eventually is going to run out. Like, hard stop, like probably, right? So if you make food that fulfills your targets and actually tastes good, that's a meal plan. That's you made it, dude. That's the win, right? So yeah, learn how to cook. Or I got again, not affiliated with this guy at all, but it's got Stealth Health. He has a crock pot meal prep cookbook. Freaking awesome, dude. You just like throw a bunch of shit in your crock pot on a Sunday. It'll make like 10 to 12 meals. You portion that out in a little like meal prep containers. Boom. You got meals for the week, dude. Right? And a lot of them are really delicious, like chili mac, buffalo chicken mac, beef stroganoff orzo, fucking like chicken teriyaki and rice or something. Dude, check out the cookbook. It's legit. Again, I'm not getting paid on this free advertisement for the homie Stealth Health, but it's great. I've used it. My wife loves it. Like, and again, I don't really like to cook and I don't consider myself a good cook, but the meals are really easy to make. There's like, usually it's like 6 steps max. And a lot of times it's just add shit to crock pot, blend cottage cheese, put in, like, it's super simple, guys. So don't sleep on cook, like, just learn how to cook. All right. So just to reiterate, because I know I rambled a bunch there, but be honest with your tracking. Okay. Plan ahead. Don't be afraid to eat the same shit on repeat. Learn how to cook. All right. If you can do those things, it's going to make staying consistent on a diet or a meal plan way easier. And if it's easier, you're going to be way more likely to be compliant. And if you're more compliant, you're going to get in better shape, right? That's just kind of how that works. So yeah, these are just things that I've been able to implement both on this current cut that I'm on and then in the past when I've been in better shape, and especially in the past when due to like MMA and stuff where I had to really watch my weight. So these are all things that I think work really well and they're very applicable and they're not hard, right? Like I don't think it's that hard to throw some rice in an Instant Pot or throw a bunch of stuff in a crock pot, right? Like I think it's all very attainable. You just got to put a little effort in. That's all. Like just a little bit, right? It's really not that hard, but it does require some effort. So, but don't be afraid. Put in that little extra, 5% effort and really set yourself up week to week. Because again, if you're staying consistent week to week and being locked in week to week is really what's going to get you there. Okay. But that's my freaking TED Talk for the week, man. A little diet meal prep tips. Well, we still got some sunlight because again, I got no lights in my house right now. That's really it for this week, guys. So I just want to say thanks again for coming back around. Thanks again for watching. I hope people out there find these little talks helpful, motivating, whatever. I enjoy doing it and I just find it kind of fun. If you are out there, don't be afraid, please drop a like, drop subscribe, follow along. If you're out there training too, whether it be you're just trying to get a little better shape or you're training for a powerlifting competition, strongman competition, whatever sport, like, it could be not a strength sport. You could be an athlete in a different sport, but again, you do strength and conditioning to be better at your sport, which if you're an athlete, I think generally speaking, you should be doing strength. There's pretty much every sport benefits from being stronger and faster, right? But yeah, I would love to know if you're out there training. I'd love to know what you're training for, what your goals are, kind of what your deal is, man. I just love this shit, man. So thanks for coming to hang out. I'll see you guys next week.